Play Your Role is now proudly partnered with 1985 Games. We work hard as a part of our gift to our viewers to bring only what we consider quality content to those who visit our channel, and I promise this is no different. 1985 has a host of incredible and unique tabletop tools for your game, and we're currently doing an Instagram exclusive giveaway of 2 of their mystery dice sets. If you want to get involved with that, check the link tree in the description for a link to our Instagram, as well as being able to check out 1985 in order to be able to support them for supporting us. Anyways, back to the video. So today I wanted to talk about a topic that's actually been asked of me to talk about a lot, and I've avoided it for a few different reasons. One, I just didn't feel like I really had a firm concept on what I thought about the topic, and 2, it felt like something that was kind of nebulous and was really linked to a lot of past editions of D&D rather than the current one, and so I didn't have a whole lot of experience with it. But the more I thought about it and the more people asked me about it, I decided I would put at least some of my thoughts out here, and I think I've come to a conclusion on what I think about it. And that is the concept of the DMPC, or Dungeon Master Player Character. Now, for those of you who don't know, a Dungeon Master Player Character is essentially a character or an NPC in the story that acts as basically the player character for the Dungeon Master, the self-insert, if you will. Now, obviously, there's a lot of reasons of why that could be an issue. It would take away from the player, it would take away agency, and also, why does the Dungeon Master need a player character if they're busy running the world? Usually, it is only just to have their own self-insert super powerful character, which is a little bit of a problem. So, you take that into account and you consider that entire concept, and it becomes easily problematic. And so, most people have assumed that the Dungeon Master player character is just a mistake. However, I did not come to a clear conclusion on whether I thought it was good, bad, or just kind of but I do think I've decided on what I think on the topic, and that's the question we're going to answer today. So let's talk about that. So when it comes to the Dungeon Master player characters, it's really difficult to decide what I think about them. I did come to a conclusion, but before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit more about why it's problematic. See, it's very easy to have the self-insert character, and usually Dungeon Master PCs are higher level characters than the rest. And why is it that people do this? Well, it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Think about the original core quintessential D&D story, which I talk about in basically every other video, and you guys are probably tired of hearing about, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is fantastic, and Gandalf,
Lord of the Rings. Only one who can bend it to his will, and he does not share power.
pretty much acts as the DMPC. He's higher level than the rest, he's incredibly competent, he brings them all together and acts as their patron, and eventually he leaves after taking care of a few problems for them. Leaves being kind of not really what happened. If you've watched the story, you know. But dying / being kidnapped by the bad guy is not really necessarily leaving, more of getting forcefully ejected from the story. But that is interesting because it makes it clear that the DM didn't want them in the story, if this was a DM or D&D story anyways. But why do people do it? Well, Gandalf brought a lot to the story. Having a more powerful character there to guide the other players forward, having a character to bring the party together without having to make them make their own conclusions on why they'd want to be a party is very helpful. And having a higher NPC there means that the DM can take care of things when they need to and not kill the party, but it takes away agency. And that's why most people don't like them, is because they don't end up being something that serves the story, but they end up being something that serves the DM. They are just self-insert characters that are higher level and will take care of things and basically make the players a background character, which is not what the point of D&D is. They're supposed to be the heroes.
Am I out of focus?
You're fine.
Yeah, but I mean, look at me, I'm all blurry.
Well, you're supporting cast.
What?
Now, did Gandalf take away from the other players being heroes? Kinda, not really, though there were many times where he took care of things that they couldn't have. And that does take a little bit from it, but you know, Lord of the Rings is a story. It is a book series or a movie series. D&D is different. And so DMPCs can be really, really difficult to try and figure out. So do I think they're good? Or do I think they're bad? Or do I think they're yeah? The truth is, I think Dungeon Master PCs are very good for the story, but you have to hold yourself to reasonable standards in order to make it worth doing. See, I particularly tend to have two different rules in my games when I play a Dungeon Master PC, and I have done so before. In the first campaign I ever ran, I had a Dungeon Master PC who was a wizard, higher level than everybody else, and very highly influential in the world. Pretty much the criteria for the perfect cringy DM, but the players ended up loving them, and I did just pat myself on the back saying, oh, look at you, Jay did the perfect DMPC. That's not the case. The fact was my players were willing to work with that NPC. But the fact is, I held myself to two rules and continue to do so to these days that help me make my Dungeon Master player characters feel like important NPCs who have influence and drive over the story without stealing agency from the players. And what are those two rules? Well, the first one is the DMPC must never solve a problem that the players should. And this is difficult because it then leads you to the question of, should I put a problem in front of the players that they can't take care of so the DMPC can, and then seem super cool and competent and make it clear to them that this is a powerful character? Don't do that. You should never present a problem in your story that is meant to be solved by something other than the players. Either the players will circumvent it, they will solve it, or it is not important to their story. You should not put something in there so that they can just take care of it themselves. And that doesn't mean that you can't have another person take care of things. It is a living world. If there is a problem and your players choose to ignore it, another adventuring group probably will. And it is okay to put that in there and create this sense of atmosphere and world and wow, things are going on around us. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should only do that once the players decide that that is not a part of their story. If you do so just because yada yada, it doesn't really make them feel good. It just makes them feel like something was stolen from them. If there's a monster out in the mountains and they haven't decided to go after it yet, but they want to, but oh, they didn't do it fast enough, the DMPC took care of it. Well, then what was the point in doing it in the first place? Don't steal from the players. And so the DMPC should never solve a problem that the players could. But that doesn't mean that the DMPC can't solve problems. But they should only do so if the players ask. See, if the players go to an NPC and ask, it means that they want them part of the story. They want them to be a part of the narrative that you're creating, and they like them enough to ask them. They think it would be fun if this NPC was able to solve a problem for them. And this doesn't have to be just power. It could be political means. It could be through circumventing something. It could be because they have connections to something. It doesn't have to be they just go kill a monster. But if a player group goes to an NPC and asks them to solve a problem, it's because they think it would be super cool, or it would be entertaining, or it will help them get where they want faster if the NPC did it. So don't have the NPC just interject. Have them be there and available, but let the party make that decision. And two, this is the other really, really important rule. If the DMPC is going to interact directly with the party, the only thing they should ever do is give the party more chance to be badass. See, I did have this DMPC, and she had a whole adventuring party that were level 17, while the main party, the party at my table, was only level 11. And they went to a Lich's Lair, and they were working with this other way higher level party to help take down the Lich. And you'd think that that would take away a lot, but it really didn't, because the other party went elsewhere. They said, hey, we want to explore another part of this. We want to make sure that everything's safe. And they went to a part of the map that didn't actually exist. I made it up. I sent the party there to take care of important things, while this party took care of the actual dungeon that was way more important. And the other group took care of things that were supposedly very dangerous, but the party never saw it. And when they came into the actual fight to fight the Lich had a super powerful Draco Lich-like homunculus that they summoned up to be able to help fight them. A ritual they've been enacting for years and years and were finally able to put into place to help protect them from the party while they tried and finish their ultimate ritual to become a god. Super cool, super fun. The party started to fight the Draco Lich and the Lich, and it was clear it was too much of a battle for them. The other adventuring party shows up. They did nothing to steal away from the party. They did not immediately go attack the Lich, who was the main villain who had been built up to it. No, they distracted the Draco Lich. And the Draco Lich still had influence over the battle. It would occasionally do moves or abilities that would influence their battle. But they just distracted it while the party took care of the main thing, the main threat, which was the Lich. That's what they had come here for. Not to fight some weird bony dragon, though the bony dragon was cool and existed and was there in front of them, but they came to fight the villain. And so the other party, the DMPCs, gave them the ability to fight the villain. And that's what's important. If you want them to be powerful, if you want them to be involved, that's totally fine, but whatever it is that they do has to empower the party to do more. It should not take away from what it is that they're doing. If you have a DMPC traveling with them, make sure that their spells and abilities that they do, let the characters do more cool things. Heal them, buff them, trap the enemies so that they can really slam down on them. If there's one enemy that's about to kill one of the other player characters, have your DMPC take them out so that player can keep playing in the combat. Let them empower them to do more. A DMPC should be there to help grow another adventuring party, not take one down because they're just that cool. If you can do that, it really creates a strong connection with them and makes the party endeared to the DMPC and makes them not a DMPC necessarily, but a very fleshed out, well-written, and well-loved NPC. And a well-written, well-loved, fleshed-out NPC will be a good DMPC. And if you could do all that, you should be able to run a pretty awesome game. So go out into the world and make it your own, you beautiful bastards. Don't forget to have a great day, and never forget to play your role.